but it's so funny.
Good morning, Brooks.
Good morning, Baron.
How are you on this fabulous Tuesday?
I'm good. It's a busy week. It seems like our second semesters are pretty hefty with the
Mm-hmm.
workload, but we're here. We're killing it. You know how it is. Come on now.
A little scuff this morning, audio technical issues, but anything for our loving and devoted fans. We love you guys. So that's why we're here. We got a long off season of content to talk about, but we're pretty excited. We think we've found something that'll be a great off season for everyone involved. So
Hmm.
without further ado, let's jump right into it.
Welcome to the greatest podcast on earth. Nothing agreed.
And we're back with some other technical issues. The intro is not working properly, so
Well,
I'm gonna need to figure that out. But
what a
Brooks,
morning today.
I know. Yeah, we'll get on that.
Yo, back to the episode of Nothing Agreed. Back with the boys today, Baron. We're finally in the crux of the off season. It is a long road ahead. I've been thinking about some fun things we can do, but first, how are you doing this Tuesday morning?
I'm doing all right.
That's fair. All right, it's not horrible, but all right, all right.
Yeah, tired. Had a
Baron, I
busy.
think some people do know that this is also your last semester of college
It's also
before you do
true.
something called the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's always fun. So yeah, got all of that on top of a busy semester. Yeah. But we're hanging in there.
Yeah.
We got football to talk about. That's always something to bring joy into my life, at least. You'd think that, but yeah. Despite all the
Not mine.
misery and
Not mine.
letdown and pain throughout the season, you're
Yep.
always left wanting more in the off season. Isn't that right?
This guy won a Super Bowl last year and
All
two
right.
Super Bowls in the last 7.
Okay. Um.
He's won more Super Bowls than I have seen pro sports championships in my lifetime. Also, in 7 years, he's won the same amount of Super Bowls as my city has won actual major titles as well. And he's complaining.
Well. At least I'm not a Patriots fan, right?
I'd rather be a Patriots fan than be a Falcons fan. I mean,
Well,
Jesus.
yeah, but I'd be sitting here talking about how life sucks because we just lost the Super Bowl and all that.
I guess, but Patriots fans also have like a faith now because Drake May went to the Super Bowl that they can like keep going. But
Oh, I have faith for
I
next
don't.
season. It was a bad season. Anyway, we're not talking about that today. Today, we are going to talk about a few things, but to
Oh,
start
okay.
off, we're going to talk about running backs. Now, if you are keeping up with the NFL, I'm sure you've seen it by now, but the morning that this was recorded, we saw the news that the Seahawks will not be franchise tagging Kenneth Walker, and they do not plan to re-sign him. And that's the Super Bowl MVP, right? Arguably their best offensive player their entire playoff run, and he's about to just walk for nothing. And that comes back to a question that's been circling around the NFL the last couple of years, I'd say. How valuable are running backs? When they play well, they contribute to a lot of success, right? We see Kenneth Walker and how he was able to take over in the playoffs. We saw Saquon Barkley last year had an historic rushing season and eventually won the Super Bowl as well. Christian McCaffrey for the Niners, that's another big name out there. Look at the impact Derrick Henry's had for Lamar Jackson. I'm trying to think of a few more. Look at the young guys. Cam Scattaboo.
Bijan Robinson,
Yeah, Bijan Robinson.
Jameer
Jameer Gibbs. What's his name? The guy on there, Ashton Genty.
hmm
Like these guys show that they can be X factors for your team. They can come in, take
Oh,
over, and win games. Exactly.
little
So why?
man, little Madden shout out right there.
Yeah, there you go. So why is the position just so undervalued? I mean, you would think a running back basically wins you a Super Bowl offensively. Again, you could argue Seattle's defense is what won them the Super Bowl, but if you don't score points offensively, the other team might, and then you lose. So I think if you have, it's just crazy to me that you don't want to even think about bringing back your biggest offensive piece contributing to your Super Bowl win.
Look, to me, I think I don't know if I should just throw my opinion out there right now. I guess to build the kind of the hype around Kenneth Walker is, he was their best player this playoff run. Talk about the game against the Rams, very good game. Talk about the game in the divisional against the Niners. But Charbonnet went down. A lot of pressure went on his shoulders. Everyone was looking at him, and he stepped to the plate. And you said it best. I mean, we can talk about how the defense really played well for Seattle, but that offense didn't play so well. I mean, Sam Darnold did not have a good game for any standards. JSN was, I don't want to say invisible, but felt like he was not out there like the JSN we know. I mean, Rashica, he had, I think, 2 catches. I mean, this team, they went a couple around, AJ Barnes, that touchdown catch, but it was Kenneth Walker's big day that really solidified that the Seahawks were going to win this game. To me, my opinion on this is I'm on the side of Seattle. I really am. Look, if you look at Kenneth Walker, and as a disdained pickup of Kenneth Walker this year, the playoffs is where he was the best. This regular season, I mean, he split carries with Charbonnet, and he wasn't so great. Maybe the argument for him is, look at me when you give me running back 1 production, what I can do. But also the argument is Seattle was the best team in the NFC, and they didn't need to use him as a running back 1. They used him as a split guy. So for me, if you aren't a generational or at least decade kind of player, then you don't deserve, not that you don't deserve, but teams are not going to give you that money. And when I mean generational or decade, I just mean some guy that's really going to break something for you. You're talking about the Bijan Robinsons, the Saquon Barkleys, the Christian McCaffreys, those type of guys. Jahmyr Gibbs, we've mentioned earlier, those type of guys. And I think that rookie contract is really your trial run into that second big contract.
I agree. But my question is, if only one rookie running backs in each class gets that second contract on the same team, then what does that say about how valuable that position is? Because, again, obviously it's very dependent on how good your offensive line is, right? We saw how even generational talents like Saquon Barkley can make a mid or bad offensive line like the Giants look somewhat good, and then when he gets behind a good one, has a historic season, right? You look at Jahmyr Gibbs, who for most of his early career has had a very good offensive line to run behind. Now, he's very fast, very shifty, and offers a lot of value outside of just running between the tackles. But for those guys, like I think a good example is, I'm trying to think of, I mean, it kind of sounds bad to say, but I think a great example from recently would be like a guy like Nick Chubb, right? Who, again, the Browns never had a very great offensive line, but it was never bad. And while he did have some skill to break a tackle or make a guy miss, you could see those seasons where his offensive line production dipped, so did his. I think you look at a guy like Le'Veon Bell, too. That's another big name from not really this generation, but the blend over of last generation and this one. Was an historically good running back, or on pace to be, on the Steelers. Wanted to go get more money, left free agency, went to the Jets, a significantly worse offensive line, and his production fell off the face of the earth. That's where his career died. So, obviously, we can't sit here and say that there's not some dependence on offensive line play, the positions you're being put in as a running back. But, I mean, still, I feel like for a guy like Kenneth Walker, I just think it's kind of crazy for a team to sit there and be like, yeah, we're not going to bring you back. And again, I don't want to keep talking about the Eagles, but compare it to Saquon Barkley. he had an historic season for the Eagles. Some would say won them or a lot would say won them the Super Bowl, or got them to the Super Bowl. He got a massive contract extension for that. And again, you mentioned how Kenneth Walker was a split back in the regular season, but he's a guy that's young and shows a lot of promise. So I feel like this is a guy that you might want to keep around for another 2 to 3 years if you can get on a contract like that.
Yeah, I mean, he is young for a player. He's 25, but the NFL ages only so much. I mean, we've seen guys get washed at 28, 29. So he's going to be using that he's going to be vying that age is his biggest factor, what he can do in the playoffs as well. Baron, I don't want to say it was broken last year with the Eagles, but the number one argument for running backs is the salary and Super Bowl winning teams, Baron. Saquon Barkley came in, won a Super Bowl, was amazing last year. This year, his production dipped pretty strong, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at since 2009, the percentage cap that these starting running backs have on their team. And I mean, if you take over 2%, there's 4 guys on the list from 2009 to 2025, if you want to mention. That is Ahmad Bradshaw was 2.3% of the salary. Ray Rice was 4.1. Marshawn Lynch is 6.2. And I don't have Saquon's number, but he's definitely over 2% of the salary hit signing that deal with the Eagles. So that's 4 guys out of 16 Super Bowls, so a fourth, 25%. And I think even then you're taking teams like, for example, I'll say the Seahawks with Marshawn being 6.2%. When the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, Marshawn was not a factor. I mean, he really wasn't. It was the defense. You look at Saquon, at least in the Super Bowl, it was all about Jalen Hurts, right? Jalen Hurts had a historic game.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys didn't make the big plays in the Super Bowl. But you look at some of these other guys on the list, LeGarrette Blount was a big name. Isaiah Pacheco had some good standout moments. James Starks. These guys, Sony Michel, even in the 2018 game, right, the low-scoring game, was a bit of a factor. So you look at these guys that are less than 1% of your cap, even James Starks being 0.1% of your cap, and they can make an impact. To me, it just gives off that running back is still the most expendable position.
I just feel like expendable isn't really the right word. I just say it's a lot. I'd say the average NFL running back talent does not vary very much outside from the guys who are really bad and the guys who are really good. I think a lot of it, again, comes down to how your offensive line looks. But again, I look at Seattle specifically, right? And again, the NFL salary cap is going up a lot this season. They're in for a big payday. And I get you want to keep all the guys on your defense, but you got to think about the team as a whole, right? And if you lose a guy like Kenneth Walker and you're essentially being like, all right, Zach Charbonnet is going to be our number one guy, how confident are you in that? Are you confident in that, Brooks, as a fan, as a person who likes to look at teams from the outside and analyze it? Do you feel confident and Zach Charbonnet stepping up and replacing all of the value lost they had with just Kenneth Walker, or with him and Kenneth Walker? Because let's play the hypothetical game for a second.
Let's play it.
Their rushing attack dips significantly in production next season. Their offense becomes more one-sided. Teams sell out more for the pass. Again, Sam Darnold kind of proved in that Super Bowl he's not perfect, right? He showed flashes of being the old Sam Darnold if you put some pressure in his eyes. So, and for NFL defensive coordinators, again, everyone's coming for the top dogs these next season, right? Everyone wants to beat them. And when you win the Super Bowl, you get a hard schedule. So it's not going to be easy. So now imagine all these good defenses that are just sitting back in pass defense waiting for Sam Darnold to throw them a ball because they're not scared of their rushing attack. That's a serious thing. And I think Kenneth Walker will guarantee a lot of money because of what he did in the Super Bowl. But I think that's something you at least. I just feel like that's really, this is a situation I feel like you just can't come out and be like, we're gonna let you test free agency. We don't really have any plans on bringing you back because we just know that it's not going to work for our salary cap. I think this is a situation where you gotta put everything on the table. Might I lose a 28-year-old safety, or would I rather lose a 25-year-old running back? And you can throw a defensive tackle in there with the safety as well, but I think you should have a lot more confidence in your ability to rebuild that defense and Mac McDonald to put the right pieces in. Because, I mean, I think you need to put a lot more priority in keeping what the offense is right now than the defense, because I think the defense can be retooled, and if you're confident, again, in your head coach, Mac McDonald, then they shouldn't really miss a beat.
You know, we can play the hypothetical game. I'll use some of my personal experience with this hypothetical game. You know, Bijan Robinson was drafted by the Falcons. I wasn't the biggest fan of it because, well, the year before we drafted a guy in the 5th round, and he rushed for over 1,000 yards, and Tyler Algier. I mean, we were really bad too. You know, we're talking about these guys are expendable. You look at the running backs this year as well. If Charbonnet is your power guy, go get yourself a speed guy. Even then, you can just have a 2 split back because these legs are expendable in the league now. And you can get someone in the 4th, 5th, 6th round that can be a good, solid piece for you. And it also looks like the running back class this year is Jeremiah Love, and that's it, right? So once you get past Jeremiah Love, it's kind of where are these guys going to fall in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, maybe if they slip really far. So I think that Seattle can go get someone. They really can. I mean, I am not a big fan of I don't really think I've said it much, but I'm not a big fan of signing free agent running backs. Like when Cam Akers gets brought in, I'm like, you can just get a really young guy, you know, that his legs are a little more, has a little more, good health bill. So I'm not a fan of it personally, but that's how I'll close it is just I think the draft is where Seattle should go.
Yeah, and I understand the ideology of getting younger and all that, but I don't know. I feel like Kenneth Walker kind of showed that he's a special guy and has that potential to be a special guy, and I think that's someone you try and keep in the building. And granted, I'm not going to sit here and say he's Saquon Barkley, I guess we would sit here and say S tier running back, but I think you can sit here and say he's an A tier. And I think people like that or guys like that need to be shown a little more respect, at least within their or in their organizations. I just feel like, yeah. I mean, if I'm Kenneth Walker, I'm furious. Like, I put everything on the line for that city. I, again, offensively, single-handedly won that game. You don't have that ring if it wasn't for him. So, and then, yeah, you could talk about the defense as well. But, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting situation, but justice for running backs. That's how I close.
I don't think Kenneth Walker is close to A tier of a running back. I think Kenneth Walker is solidly a B tier running back. I don't have him in my A tier. Personally, if I just have to fly through it quickly, I'm going to put Bijan in my S tier, Saquon in my S tier. I think Jahmyr Gibbs in my S tier. Maybe I wouldn't even throw Dalvin Cook, who is the leading rusher in the S tier. I would put
James
him in the
Cook.
A tier. Or James Cook.
Yeah, that's where I would put
James
him.
Cook in the A tier. I'd put a guy like Travis Etienne in my A tier. I'd put somebody like Devon Achane in my A tier, right? Those are guys I would put in my A tier. Jonathan Taylor is an S tier running back. Derrick Henry to me is an A tier running back. Breece Hall, I think, is a better running back than Kenneth Walker.
I think if you give Kenneth Walker the amount of carries those guys get, I think he would have the A tier stats. Kenneth Walker to me is an A tier running back.
I mean, we can talk about carries and all that, but if we look at averages, I mean, Kenneth Walker is averaging 4.6 yards a carry, which is actually not bad. But you look at a guy like Kyron Williams averages more than that. Javonte Williams averaged more than that. DeAndre Swift averaged more than that. James Cook averaged more. Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, these are guys that average more. J.K. Dobbins averaged more. Travion Henderson averaged more. So these are guys that even Travion Henderson, we would have lower. I think you would probably have DeAndre Swift as a lower running back than Kenneth Walker. But personally, I think they're they're pretty there, I
I
would
think
say.
DeAndre Swift has benefited from very dominant offensive lines his entire career. I don't think he's ever run behind a bottom or anyone outside of the top five. But um yeah, but that's my point. Yeah, you give Kenneth Walker that. Look, lo and behold, like I think that's a perfect example right there. And this will be my last point. But and sorry again, it's about the Eagles. But look at DeAndre Swift, 2023. He had a great season by his standards on the Eagles, and the
Hmm.
Eagles kicked him to the curb, brought in Saquon Barkley. The rest is history. But yeah, I
Saquon
think
Barkley.
yeah, but but again, I think if the Bears, yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see if the Bears kick DeAndre Swift to the curb. They bring in Kenneth Walker. See what that does for them.
They have Manungai, who is actually
That is
pretty
true.
decent
Yeah,
player too.
so
So
I don't think they would do that, but no, I think Kenneth Walker will be one of the biggest free agent names on the market this season. I think you'll see a lot of contenders throwing some money at him because yeah, that's a guy that can come in and change everything. Because you pair a running back like him with a good quarterback, and again, this is all hypothetical, but maybe a guy like Patrick Mahomes. That's a dual threat offense you have to worry about every week, and they could get you in any way. It doesn't you don't really need a I mean, you still need a receiver, but you don't need the best in the league at that point. So
I think Kenneth Walker is gonna be one of those stories where we come back to. I'm gonna say I'm not the complete opposite. I think Kenneth Walker's gonna be one of those stories where it's like, who's looking at him? You know, is he gonna get that big offer, or is he gonna take a prove it deal again, but behind running back one production? Because I don't know what teams are gonna look at him. You look at Kenneth Walker. I mean, he's kind of one dimensional. You know, he has one strength, and that is running the football, which I mean is the biggest strength for a running back. But now you want your running backs to be utility guys that can go out and receive as well. And he cannot be a receiving back. So he's a one dimensional kind of guy. And unfortunately, I think it's actually going to plague him in free agency. I think we'll be coming back here and talking about where's Kenneth Walker going to go?
we'll see. I think good coaching, good teams could find ways to play around those one dimensionalness. And again, anyone can learn to catch a football, but some dual threat looks again. There's ways to fix that. That should not be a huge hindrance to a team that's looking to add a dominant rusher to their Super Bowl push. So, but we'll move on. We've spent a lot of time on running backs.
That was good, no?
Yeah, you want to lead the next part?
Sure, we're going to do in the off season. We're going to bring a new topic, maybe quiz, game, etc. But or series, and I think I want to open up with a series, Baron. You know, I'm thinking we should talk about each division, talk about the highs and the lows. You know,
Sounds
talk about
great.
a little bit of the Marvin Gaye. Ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough. I
All
wanted
right.
to start. I wanted to start the opposite of what we usually do. I want to start out in the AFC West. You know, go all the way out west and work our way from the worst time zone to the best time zone. So let's work our way starting in the AFC West, Baron, and let's start with the division winners of the AFC West.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Denver Broncos. What was their high and what was their low?
The low's easy. That's the Bo Nix injury. If that doesn't happen, they have a very good conversation of being Super Bowl champions. And I would say the high. I mean, really, the high was everything except for that. I mean, I think if this is kind of a hard thing to say because Denver really didn't have like a low point in the season. I think they dropped a couple of games, but no one really looked at
Well, two
those at
games.
the yeah, and there was like, oh, their season's over. Like they had this is a team. I'll die on this hill. They would win that game against the Patriots if Bo Nix played, or if that blizzard waited one more quarter. But so yeah, that's like I think everything went right for the Broncos that last season up until the Bo Nix injury. So their high would have to honestly be everything up until then because they were a team that I thought could win the Super Bowl. So
For me, the high for the Broncos, I'm going to say the high is their defense. You know, they came out, that pass rush. I'm going to go specifically Nick Bonito, some guy that I think really jumped out to a lot of more casual fans finally as somebody who could maybe be one of the elite pass rushers of the game. And he jumped out personally because everyone already knew about PS2. Everybody knew about the stout defense, but the pass rush specifically for Denver, I think, jumped out to me. The low point, Baron, I'll go something different than you. I'm going to go the injury to J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins was having a really good start to the year and again, we talk about the split carries, how it can really help. Him and R.J. Harvey, a young guy like that, J.K. Dobbins was actually one of the best running backs to start the season. And he fell down with an injury and just couldn't get ramped back up, was out for the rest of the season. So to me, I think if they have J.K. Dobbins, they become a little more different, especially in that AFC Championship game when the run game was needed. You have a guy like Dobbins that can pick up 3 to 4 a carry. I think he was averaging 5 yards a carry. So I think losing Dobbins was a really big low point. I just want to go something different than you.
That's fair. Yeah. Move right on to the
Let's go to
Raiders.
second, though.
So,
Let's
yeah,
work
you're
our
right.
way top down. Let's go with the team that finished 7th seed in the wild card. That would be the Los
fire.
Angeles Chargers. Baron, what was your high and low of the Chargers this season?
My high would be Jim Harbaugh. I think these past 2 seasons have proven that he's knows what he's doing, got what it takes. I think if I'm a fan, a player, I'd be fully bought in at this point at what he's doing. And yeah, obviously we need to generate some playoff success, but how much could that be related to the low, which I'm gonna have to go right back to, would be offensive line injuries. I mean, you and I both hear it all the time about how cursed this team is, right? So obviously their starting tackles are never healthy, but I can't really think of a better low than that because, I mean, yeah, Justin Herbert has those in the playoffs. I mean, maybe he plays better. Historically, he hasn't, so I don't know, but it also feels like he never has his offensive tackles in the playoffs, so maybe that's part of it too. I don't know.
You kind of both stole mine. I was going to say Jim Harbaugh, but I would change my high, and I'll just go with the overall offense, which kind of pairs with my low, which was the offensive line injuries. Even with the offensive line injuries, this offense still kind of looked like they could do it, and we talk about everyone's going to look at the Patriots game and they're going to immediately throw away everything that the Chargers did in the regular season. But this team was bruised and battered. I mean, every guy, you look at the funny little PFF rankings at the bottom. I mean, every guy was lower than 32. I mean, they were worse and they were starting at 1 of the 32. And
It's
so
crazy. Mekhi Becton.
it was really tough for everyone to get going for that offensive line. But even then, Justin Herbert looked good, right? I think Lad McConkey didn't have as much of a great year did last year, but they kind of spread the wealth a little bit more. Keenan Allen looked pretty solid.
If you want to give another high, you can shout out Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think Quentin Johnson took that step that they needed, and even the running game started helping out a little bit. It was tough though. I think a low could also be the running back injuries. Najee Harris tears his Achilles week 3. Amari Hampton was out, I think, 7 weeks. It was really tough for this team to build an offense, but I think the aerial attack is something promising that you, again, don't want to be the hypothetical guy, but next season could look really good.
Yeah, they have all the
And
pieces in place.
I think Gadsden is a really good high this year too.
Yeah, I mean, they have all the right pieces in place for next season, like you said, but I mean, yeah, they're cursed, right?
You look at the 3rd seed, Baron, that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Give me your high and low. You're going to love this one probably for the Kansas City Chiefs.
So I think this happened before the Super Bowl, so this has technically still happened in season, but their high is definitely getting Eric Bieniemy back. For anyone out there that still doesn't believe that offensive coordinator plays a big role in quarterback success, just look at Patrick Mahomes under Eric Bieniemy versus under Matt Nagy. It's night and day. So, yeah, I think that's a big high for them. I would expect them to win their division next season with that pairing already. And Andy Reid, I think that's the scariest trifecta you can get. Like people say, the 3 biggest contributors to an offense overall are the offensive coordinator, head coach, and the quarterback. So the pairing of those 3 is like the holy trinity, but upside down for the league. So it's going to get scary. And they're low. I think their low would just have to be age. I think time's finally caught up to this team. You look at their running back room. Kareem Hunt's probably about to be in his 30s. Travis Kelce I don't know why you're coming back. Just go be a podcaster. Enjoy traveling the world with your girlfriend. There's no reason for you to come back. Chris Jones, he's on his last leg. Um, what's the guy's name? Nick Bolton. He kind of looks like he's lost his step in some sense. It's just this team seems to be aging out from the Super Bowl dynasty that it was. Remember, for a lot of these players, their first Super Bowl win was 2019, or technically 2020, but it was the 2019 season. So that's almost 7 years ago. That's that average lifespan for an NFL player. So like, and again, we're talking about great players, mind you, but still, they're not. These weren't rookies that were winning the Super Bowl. They had already been on second contracts. So now they're being phased out of the league. And you just kind of look at how Kansas City's kind of handled the retooling. I don't love Xavier Worthy. Rashee Rice, I do. I think that's a good pick despite his off the field issues. I think that's something you want to keep around. I don't love Xavier Worthy. I kind of compare him to James Wiseman on the Warriors. I kind of just, in my head canon, those are the same player.
Wow.
And yeah, not in terms of like when they were selected, but just like what they came in when were expected to be. So yeah, it's got to retool, and I don't think that was handled well this season. That would be my low for them.
My high this season is actually going to be Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton was 7th in tackle this year. He's only 25 years old.
I'm thinking of someone else then.
Probably. But Nick Bolton's only 25. He was 7th in tackles this year, and it was kind of the big bright spot of this Kansas State defense. Everyone focuses on Chris Jones, but that's a guy that's kind of getting towards the age right there. But Nick Bolton looked very solid at the linebacker position, and I think is something that Kansas City should keep going with Nick Bolton. Meanwhile, for my low, I mean, gosh, where could you start?
Oh, I'm thinking of Drew Tranquill.
Yeah. I think my low for this season is going to be the receiving core. You had injuries, suspensions, age, no one over 1,000 yards. Travis Kelce was your leading receiver. And actually, I came to this season as a big Travis Kelce believer. I drafted him on almost every fantasy team I had, very low. And actually worked out sometimes did not work out. But I think this year is just – I think the offense could be a whole low.
Yeah,
and
I hated their rushing game.
Yeah, and so we'll see what Bieniemy can do, but let's move swiftly on, and let's go to the team that finished last in the AFC West, the Las Vegas Raiders. Baron, high and low.
Your high, successful tank season. You got the number 1 pick, and you get a chance to get back on winning track. Low. You're still the Raiders. I mean, does anyone expect them to do anything with this pick? I mean, I love Fernando Mendoza, but I can already tell you they'll probably ruin his development. I could sit here and say he probably will not be a good NFL quarterback just because. Look at I don't trust the Raiders to develop him. And maybe Clint Kubiak can be this QB whisperer. I mean, he did it for Sam Darnold, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm nervous about the pairing. Offense or team and the quarterback, but yeah, I mean it's the Raiders in Las Vegas. Have they given anything to be excited about ever? I guess if you wanted to give one more high spot, you could see or low spot. I think you've officially pushed Max Crosby out of the building, and that's a guy who's vocally stated he wants to stay there. And maybe that's for the best interest of your team moving forward in the future, because he will get you a lot of something in a trade. But yeah, I just don't think that says a lot about your culture. If you have a guy who his entire career has been like, this is my home, I want to stay here, I want to play here, and you've finally pushed him out of the building, he doesn't think that way anymore. I think that says a lot about how bad your culture is.
Baron, my high spot. It's going to be this team sold tickets, man. Even in Las Vegas, this team made a lot of money. They sold tickets, and ticket prices were out the wazoo, and yet it still looked a very packed crowd. Now, how much of that was from away fans? Yeah, when the Steelers were there, I remember a couple of years ago. I mean, it was packed with Steelers fans, but they traveled really well. But it was really good at selling tickets in Las Vegas. Attractions all over. Sunday UF football did really well. Wow. Baron, I think my low is going to be Geno Smith. That whole thing, But I'm going to go with an underrated low that I think no one's talking about. I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers. This was a guy who was on the Raiders that got pushed out of the door, that they didn't even want to play anymore. And when he got traded to Jacksonville, he became the number one receiver for Jacksonville. It looked really solid and earned himself a payday. And you just kind of gave him up. I think that's an underrated one. I don't think that's our biggest low, but I always try to differentiate myself. I think Jacoby Myers is something we don't talk about as much.
I would also shout out, and this is kind of more of a last season low, but I don't know how you conducted a entire head coaching search last offseason and came away with Pete Carroll. I guess you were just stalling. Maybe that was a whole part of the tank, but Roger, we need to look into that. Like seriously, because like looking back at it, kicking Jacoby Brissett out the door, or not Jacoby Brissett, Jacoby Myers out the door. Who was their quarterback last season? Was it who was their quarterback last season?
It wasn't Minshew. So
regardless,
I got you.
They brought in Pete Carroll and Geno Smith.
Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell.
This team had no intention of winning football games. So we need to investigate, Roger. I'm so sorry, Fernando, because when you only deliver 4 wins in 2 seasons, they're gonna blame it all on you, and they're gonna repeat this awful cycle. But maybe you can be the future. That's all I got.
There you go. Now, Baron. I know we should probably make this quick. Make this my second topic. I think this could be Brooks's bombs as well, actually. I think that I could combine these. But I want to talk about the NBA All-Star Game, which isn't really related to the NFL, but back to the Pro Bowl as well, Baron. The NBA All-Star Game happened this past weekend, and it had the highest viewership it had in a while. 8.8 million viewers, 47%. It was like 94% actually percent increase, because I think it was like 4.6 million last year. So a big jump. And honestly, from what I saw, what I watched with my eyes, what I read, most people kind of liked it. They liked it. People were playing defense. Wemby was yelling at Cat for not playing defense. Kawhi had that big quarter. There were some fun moments to it. I think the rest of the All-Star weekend sucked. But I think that was the biggest high, was the NBA All-Star Game. And, we can get kind of nitty gritty with the skills games and all that. But if we look at the 4 All-Star Game formats now, just right now, I think the NFL's last, Baron. I think the NFL is the worst at what it does. I think this is going to be the quickest one possible. I think you're going to agree with everything I say, but I think the NFL really needs to find something that is exciting and enjoyable that makes the game competitive. If you can make it, the biggest job with that is you have to make it competitive. Everyone wants to see the biggest stars play and try their hardest. So that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I was thinking about something the other day, and I mean, we're playing flag football now. So what's the fucking point of making a Pro Bowler as an offensive lineman if we're playing flag football? There's only one of them on the field, and that goes for defensive linemen too, right? Like, if you're the best nose tackle in the league and you're selected for the Pro Bowl because you're the best nose guard or nose tackle, they don't fucking play in flag football. I mean, they might be the center, but which is the nose guard, but it's just like it just feels unauthentic, right? And it's not like, I think we can look at football and flag football and say these are not the same sport. They're very closely related, but they are not the same sport. In the very same way that kickball and baseball are not the same sport. They're very closely related, but they're not the same sport. So, we need to go back to just tackle football. Flag football is ridiculous. We as the NFL and NFL fans, and this might sound wrong, but we just need to accept the fact that football is a violent sport. And we can practice safe tackling. We can practice safe way to hit someone. But we just have to step back and accept football is a violent sport. There is a good chance that when I put this helmet on, I'm going to get injured. there's a very small chance that when I put this helmet on, I will get injured to the point where it will change the rest of my life for the rest of my life. But again, you make millions upon millions of dollars to do so. Like, NFL players are modern day gladiators. Can we agree on that? Like, they're in this for fame and fortune, right? Like, no one's going to the NFL, I feel like, just because all I can really do is play football. Like, I think if you really put your mind to it, you could go get a job and do something. No, if you're in the NFL, you're in it for fame and fortune, right? Or because football's all you know. So I just feel like we need to just, and again, this kind of sounds wrong, but I think as a culture, we just need to stop sort of embracing this safety first mentality. Like, obviously, I think safety needs to be prioritized, but I mean, let's bring violence back into the Pro Bowl. Let's bring violence back into football. Like, that's what it's for. If you don't want it that, then don't play football. Like, go play another sport. Like, you're athletic enough to go play other sports. If you're really athletic enough, go play basketball. They make way more money anyway. But no, people play football because they like football, and it's a violent thing. So we just need to embrace that. And that starts with the Pro Bowl. We need to have incentive. We need to, and maybe incentives isn't the right thing. Maybe punishments is if you go to the Pro Bowl and you don't play and you don't have a valid reason, then you're suspended a season. Like that, maybe that's what we need to start doing. But we need to bring something. We need to do something to make these players play football again. And I think if you do that, because again, I think what you said, people just want to see the best of the best play against each other. I don't think it should be any more difficult than that. Get a Hall of Fame player or coach to be the coach for each team. Get the best players at each position from each division, all on the one team on each side. Line them up and let's play a game of football. I think it's a simple method and it works, but we just can't have it because everything has to be safe.
You know, in the United States, football is the Oprah of sports. It's the king of the kings. You know, I mean that is the one that the granddaddy of them all, as they would say. It is the one. So the fact they had the Pro Bowl game on a Tuesday, when if you're actually a legitimate one, you can put it on a Sunday. You can put whatever you want, and that will be the dominant one of that time. You know, there's that stat that they bring up, Baron, all the time when it was COVID. 2020 and the NBA finals were going on, and then the Wednesday game between the Ravens and the Steelers, how it had more viewers in the NBA finals. You know, it is the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah.
And so the fact that the Pro Bowl's on a Tuesday, there's something wrong with it, needs to be fixed immediately. Something needs to happen. I feel like this is more Brooks's bomb segment because I'm ranting about it.
It's okay. I'll change the screen right now for you.
Oh, well, hold on now. If we don't go off air. Perfect. Brooks's bombs is, I'm a big baseball guy. I think baseball is the best all-star game, home run derby, whatever. To me, it's consistently good. The NBA All-Star Weekend has its problems. The dunk contest is falling out of style. The three-point contest is meh. And the All-Star game has picked up. But if you're the NFL, you have nothing. Nobody cares about the Pro Bowl. Nobody cares about anything that you do. When it comes to Pro Bowl weekend, it's just, hey, instead of we have Pro Bowl this weekend, it's we have 2 weeks or another week until the Super Bowl. That's what it is. And it's more Super Bowl prep. So something needs to be done about this. I don't care. I don't think midseason is actually the right idea. I think the timing is actually not bad, but something needs to be fixed with the game immediately. And I think that if you want to fix the game immediately, you need to make it where these players either have an incentive or there's a reason to go there and play the game, because nobody cares about it at all as a sport. I didn't even know it was happening on Tuesday. It was like 76-66 or some stupid thing like that. There's one guy snapping the ball. Micah Parsons is in like a freaking wheelchair rolling around, hitting people. I mean, nobody, maybe the players had fun, but nobody outside of the players had fun. And if that's a product you want to put on TV, then do it, Roger Goodell, because that's what you want. I don't care. Nobody cares. Have fun with it.
There you go. One last point, and then I'll end it off. But yeah, I mean, Roger Goodell, yeah, you gotta do something, right? And I'm not gonna sit here and say Adam Silver's a good commissioner. Have you seen what he said about his approach to stopping tanking? It's pretty bad.
I think Brooks's bombs could be a whole segment about tanking about the NBA. That might be a 30-minute topic. Don't even get me started on that because Adam Silver, I have words for you.
But
thank you for the next week topic. I'm talking about freaking tanking next week.
You got it.
I'm putting the whole notepad.
Oh boy, there's your sneak peek, guys. So come on back.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to what I was saying. But yeah, I think Adam Silver right now looks a lot better than Roger Goodell because, thankfully, for us, not really Roger Goodell, these events are aligned very closely together. I think they happen within 2 weeks of each other. So it's not like one happens in June and the other happens in December, where by the time the next one's come along, we've forgotten all about it. No. We have fresh comparison to go off of. And again, I didn't watch NBA All-Star Weekend. I expected it to be shit. So I'm glad to hear that it wasn't, at least the main event. Also shout out VJ Edgecombe, Rising Stars. But other than that, it's good to hear that people seem to be caring and trying in the All-Star game. And I think, like you said, incentives would be a great thing. I still think the Super Bowl home field advantage would be a great incentive that would really get players. But if that doesn't work, I think I'm going to double down. Maybe we need to enact some punishment. If you are voted to the Pro Bowl and you are not participating in the Super Bowl and you do not have a valid injury reason to not play, and you just refuse to, then you might get suspended for 6 games next season. You might get half your paycheck cut in half. You might just not play next season. You're going to take a season off. Your value is going to go down, and you're going to lose millions of dollars. And I guarantee you that'll make these players A, play, or B, get the fuck out of the league, because we don't want you in the league if you're not going to play, if you don't care. So I think those are some things that we need to get to, but yeah, again, this should be the premier event of the season outside of the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl is the matchup of the two best teams at the end of the season going up against each other. The Pro Bowl should be the accumulation of all the remaining best players in the league going up against each other, and that's just what people want to see.
There you go. Well, I have no other thing to say because honestly, I might make a short form video for tanking. I mean, it is horrible. It is whatever. I'm so pissed about it. You got me angry about it. That's my next bomb. Please remind me about that. I'm going to go a whole fucking shit show about it. All right. Anything else you want to add? Because I'm done.
All good.
Sounds good. Well, that'll be another episode of Nothing Agreed. Thank you so much for listening. What are your opinions about running backs in the NFL, especially Kenneth Walker's position? Is he going to go high or is he going to go low? Meanwhile, Pro Bowl, how do you fix it? Let us know down in the comments. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and peace.